Hi everyone, this is Joy with Create It with Joy. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so very much for stopping by. Today's project is a really fun project using Honeybee Stamp's House Builder Treat Shop add-on. I can't even tell you how long I have been wanting to make this card using these die sets. I have been trying to get these die sets since December, and they were out since my birthday in November, and didn't get ordered, and then Christmas was out, and then they sent it and my postman lost it, and so we had to order it again. Finally, it's here, and I could not be more thrilled. So I have never made a 5x7 card. Let me just start off by saying that. So that is what I'm doing because I felt like I needed a huge card base. So I'm trimming out two pieces that are 5x7. Actually, my first piece is going to be 5 1/4. Yeah, I think it's 5 1/4 by 7. And that way I can make, or I can trim it, fold it at the top. I'll get it together, you guys. I'm so excited about this project. Anyways, so here's my second piece that I'm doing a 5x7, regular 5x7 piece cut. Trimming that down. So I will take the piece that I have that's a 1/4 inch taller, as you can see right there. And we will fold that down and adhere that to the front piece, and then we will have a 5x7 card base, because I don't have any on hand because, again, I don't make 5x7 cards. But I might start doing it with these big scenes. You can have these big scenes on the background. It might be a good plan. So I'm just going to take my bone folder, not that one, because then I realized, no, I need my other one. And I'm going in a 1/4 inch in and scoring that really well. And then I'm going to fold that over. I will use some double-sided score tape because that's really nice and strong. You could use a liquid glue. You could use a tape runner, but I would say use something a little bit stronger. So I'm going to stack those two together. I will end up having to trim a little bit off the bottom, but it was very, very little. But this is really super easy to make, this 5x7 card. So here's the score tape. I will put that down on there, again, because it's nice and strong. This is an 1/8 inch score tape, and it fits perfectly. So I'm going to take that release paper off, stack my two cards together, make sure all sides are even, bottom, sides, everything, and fold that down. And then you've got yourself a 5x7 card. So I guess you could do this for any size card as long as your machine or whatever can cut it. You're golden. Okay, so I have the House Builder card base and I have the Treat Shop add-on. So I've cut out the house out of white. I've pretty much cut almost everything out of white because I colored everything with Copic markers, but you could just die cut out of colored cardstock. So I'm cutting, I've got two rectangles, and I can't remember if this is in the House Builder or the Treat Shop add-on, you guys. I'm so sorry. I think it's the House Builder, but I'm not sure. But they're two different sizes, and basically what I want to do is make a black frame that's going to go around my window that's already die cut. So I cut the first rectangle out of black cardstock, and now I'm taking the smaller rectangle die, putting it inside and running that through my die cut machine to make a black frame. You'll see how I'm going to use that in just a minute. I've cut out the doors, actually using the House Builder doors, not the doors from the Treat Shop add-on. I cut that out of Cardstock Warehouse's Cherry Wood Grain Wood. So see, there's the black frame. And that's going to go around the window because I really wanted a white house with black-ish accents on some of the stuff. So here is the chalkboard stand, and I just thought this is actually one of my favorite things out of this whole die cut set is this chalkboard thing. I cut that out of the Cherry Wood Grain from Cardstock Warehouse. I took a piece of black cardstock and I'm lining it up and just with the stand and kind of scooching it off to the side and trimming it, following those lines because it's not perfectly up and down. It's kind of on a diagonal. So I'm just trimming that to where it fits perfectly centered in that wood stand. So as you can see now, that fits nice in there. And I did black because I want it to look like a chalkboard. I'll be using some white embossing powder on that later to look like chalk. So that is nice and done. I just kind of lay everything out like 12,000 times. This card took me forever because there's so many components. And I just felt like I needed it to just really be so perfect because I absolutely love this thing. So these are the doors from the house, and I'm cutting off the 2 little pieces at the bottom that stick out so the doors can come together like double doors, if that makes sense. Here's the window. I've die cut that out of the actual house itself. I am taking Wendy Vecchi's Mini Bricks stencil and Distress Oxide ink in Hickory Smoke, and I am just lightly putting some bricks just in certain spots. I do not want this whole thing to be brick. Basically, I want it to feel like one of those stucco houses, and maybe the stucco's falling off and you've got this brick because it's like an old building and you've got brick showing through. That was really what my plan was for this, and most of this gets covered up, but you still see a little bit of it here and there, and I loved that look. So now that that is all done, I am taking my white card base and I'm adding some pavers to it, and this is Ink Blot Shop Get Grounded stamp set. And so I'm just adding that down, and I'm using Hickory Smoke ink for this, and then I will also color it with a little bit of the Hickory Smoke ink. I wanted some brick or tile or something that made it feel like a really pretty sidewalk, but I also kind of wanted it to be in the background, so that's why I kept it gray and really super simple and didn't add a ton of stuff to it. There is some little grass pieces, and I used Mowed Lawn Distress Oxide ink, and I stamped a few grass pieces in and around, and I really like how that turned out too. Again, trying to keep this really in the background, but still feeling like you needed something there. I didn't want it just to sit on a flat ground. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because there isn't, but for me, I just needed a little bit more. So I'm just masking that bottom part off with some paper, adding a little bit of green using Mowed Lawn Distress Oxide ink, just for the illusion that there's grass. And then I'm going to be using Tumbled Glass Distress Oxide ink for the sky. Again, I want this to be a whole full scene, so I felt like, it needed to feel like there's an outside going on, but you don't have to do that. You could totally leave it blank if you wanted to. So again, I'm not worried about a really super good blend on this, because to me then it kind of feels like there's a little bit of cloud going on. So most of the time I'm very particular about how I blend my distress inks, but this one I didn't mind that it was a little bit blotchy. That was really what I was going for. So now here is the roof line. This comes in the Treat Shop add-on. I wanted my house to be this teal color because this is my most favorite color ever. And then I wanted a lot of black and white and then a little bit of wood element. So I'm using Copic markers. I'm using BG 10, 11, and 13. For this, I'm just laying down color. I'm alternating because this is going to be a blue and white roof. Laying down my lightest color, which is BG 10, coming in with BG 13. Laying down dark at the top and the bottom, then coming in with 11, adding a little bit of that, and blending it all again with BG 10. Something I did decide to do after this was all colored in, something looked a little weird to me. So I took the BG 13 and actually traced each side of the colored parts of the roof, all the way down the sides, both sides, and it actually gave it more definition between the white pieces since that center is so light. Do you see what I mean, how light that center is? It needed definition between the blue and the white pieces. So here I'm taking that and just gently going on each side, tracing down each side, and you can see now there's more definition there. Then for the white parts of the cardstock, you don't want to just leave it white. Use like a gray color and add a little bit of shading and shadow to that very lightly, and it will actually make it look more white than it being white on its own. So I am using T3 and T1 for my white on here. And I'm just adding a little bit to the sides, tracing up the sides and the top and the bottom. And then I use my blender marker. It's actually the 0 marker for Copic markers, and just softening those gray parts. And then, but that gives it the illusion that it's white and not uncolored or unfinished. You can also do that with blues as well if you want it to look like ice or water. So for the doors in the House Builder set itself, they have these little oval die cuts that cut the oval out of the doors, and I'm going to cut both of those out, running that through my die cut machine, because we're going to use some glossy accents later to make it look like glass in those windows. It took me a long time to make this cardigan. There's a lot of things to it. And I almost felt overwhelmed how many little stamp sets and how many dies, and I pulled it together, and was able to do it. It's so much fun. The possibilities are endless, you guys. So I'm laying these doors down and marking inside those holes because I want to stamp this cute little banner from the Treat Shop add-on inside this, behind the door. So like it looks like you're looking through the window and it's decorated cute in there. So I'm stamping that. I just marked to not go past it and to make sure that I was still within the windows, as you can see there. And I will color those so we can see that. Now I'm using some liquid glue. I gotta say, doesn't it look like it's an eyelash, like it's a one-eyed monster here? It was cracking me up when I saw this. Anyways, I put some glue on the outside of this window, and that black frame that we cut out earlier, I am adding that to the outside of this window. And I really am so glad I did that. I think it finishes it off and it looks fantastic. I also die cut the dormers that go on top out of white cardstock. What I'm doing is I also want a black frame around that, but I don't have a die cut to match that. So I'm using a ruler and a black marker and just tracing around a really thin black line around each one of these triangular dormers. After that is done, I am coming back with my black glaze pen and tracing over that again so it'll be nice and shiny. And so that way we have a black frame that matches those dormers at the top, just like the window at the bottom. So just tracing that again around where I already put the black, and it looks beautiful. So now the window piece that I die cut out of the window, I'm going to be doing some masking and stamping some yummy candy images. This is a sweet shop, a sweet treat, so it's all like candy and baked goods. So I'm going to stamp some things in the center and then also stamp onto a piece of masking paper and cut that out. That way I can have things layered in front and behind, and it gives you some dimension in this little tiny window down at the bottom. I did not need to do it for the windows at the top because I just wanted those to be super simple, but this window downstairs, basically by the doors, I wanted to have some dimension. So I stamped a cupcake, masked it off, and then I'm stamping the cake stand, and then I will stamp a piece of, or the cake that goes on top of it. I did make a mistake on this, and you guys probably won't notice it, but I'm going to out myself anyways because I notice it. I should have also masked off the piece of cake. I didn't think about it. And when I stamped the cloche image next to it, it kind of did a little line through the cake. It's definitely not the end of the world, and it's super small. And you know what? These are handmade cards, and they're not always perfect, but I did make a mistake there. So when I stamped that, I should have stamped my piece of my whole cake first and then stamped my cloche, but what are you going to do? So then I'm stamping 2 cupcakes inside of that. You've got this really cute window piece. Now I'm going to peel off the masking paper, and you can see you've got this really cute image. And now I'm going to stamp my cake, and this is where I'm like, oh my gosh, really, Joy? But definitely not the end of the world. Sorry, my head's in the way, you guys. I was making sure things were lined up. So here are the dormers that are going to go on the top of this treat shop, and I'm stamping some images inside of this. I did the wedding cake, a cupcake and like a little ice cream looking thing. And then the other window will have the pot of honey and a jar of candy of like gumballs. And that's going to go on the top. We're going to do all the coloring here in just a little bit once all these images are stamped. I didn't get a full stamp, so I just used a black micro pen to finish that off. Now here, I could not wait to do this. This is the chalkboard, and it has a thing that says today's specials. So I prepped that with an anti-static tool, stamping that with a clear embossing ink and a cupcake. And I'll be using white embossing powder. Clear doesn't make sense. And I will heat that up. And you've got this super cute chalkboard stand. I don't know why that's my favorite thing on here. It just absolutely is. I just think it's the cutest thing ever. So anyway, so that is all done. And I'm wiping off the powder on that black cardstock, otherwise it'll just look dusty. Like maybe you don't clean your chalkboards. No, just kidding. Okay, let's get to the coloring. And you guys, there's tons of coloring. And I'm going to try to go through this pretty quick. I've sped it up pretty quick. This is from the treat shop. This is the cute table and chairs. I wanted to throw in some more black and white to go with the frames and the black frames and the white building. So this umbrella is going to be black and white. I'm actually using Copic marker C1, 4, 6, and 8 for like the black and white. This is actually 4, 6, and 8. It's not C1. It's 4, 6, and 8 for this. But it gives you the illusion that it's black. If you use just a straight black marker, you're not going to get the shading and the variation. So use dark gray markers. Cool gray markers are usually the best for a black, but any dark gray marker will really give you that illusion. I'm going to use BG 10, 11, and 13 for the table and the chairs, keeping into that really cute teal theme, adding some shading in and around the circle. Then I will add a little bit of C1. This is where I used the C1, I believe. That's what I used for the pole because I want it to feel like a white pole. Then we're going to color the balloons. I've got RV 55, 63, and 66. Then G24, 05, and 12. And the BG10. No, that's not what that is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'm telling a lie. BG 10, 11, and 13. I think I actually just did 11 and 13 for the balloon, I think. Adding some shading, laying down my light color, bringing in a dark, then the mid-tone, and then the light again. And I think these little balloons are so cute, and we're going to have these attached to the really cute chalkboard sign, because again, I can't get over it because that's just way too darling. I keep coloring this cake right here, and I don't need it. And every time I'm done coloring, I'm like, why did you color it? You don't need it. And I'm not sure why I stamped these originally, and I thought I was going to die cut them. And I'm like, no, I want to layer those in the window. So that's why I did that. But I keep being special and coloring them. I'm trying to color everything for the most part that's the same color. So all the pinks at one time, things like that. So that's what I'm doing here, going through and deciding what I want to have pink. Sometimes it's the frosting on the cupcake. Sometimes it's the cupcake holder, definitely the cake. I did like to bring in a little bit of other colors in the treats, since the treat shop and the chairs and the table are all kind of the same color. The pink to me really popped, and I really liked how that turned out. So I'm going to finish doing those balloons. Again, the green is G24, 05, and 12. And the blue was BG 10, 11, and 13. Blue-green, actually. And the pink is RV 55, 63, and 66. I did not want to bring a ton of colors in here, so really I did keep within the greens, the pinks, and the blues. So the green that I used for the balloon, I'm also going to use for the plants. And the pink for the balloon, I'm going to use the same pinks for the candy and the cakes and the cupcakes. I didn't want it to be super overwhelming. I mean, I did bring in a little bit of yellow for the honey. But other than that, everything has really stayed the same with the browns and the blues and the blacks and things like that. And so I feel like it was very cohesive together by doing that. Not that there's anything wrong with bringing tons and tons of colors in. For me, it just felt like it would be super overwhelming. So I didn't do that. So I'm going to finish coloring all these candies and cakes and everything. I did do a chocolate bar that I will be coloring. I used E37, 49, 57 for the chocolate bar and for the pot for one of the flowers. I did have 2 potted plants, but I only ended up using 1. I do kind of like to have extra pieces because I think sometimes when you go to do a layout, I think a lot of times you may not give yourself enough. And so I tend to do extra most of the time, right? Because I hate having to go back later and die cut something else or color something else. Once I'm past that, like mentally, I'm like, I'm done with that. I'm not doing that again. So I'd rather do a little extra at the beginning. And so that's what I do. For that wedding cake, I believed I colored it in the C1, I think. Yeah, that's what that looks like, the C1, to make it look white, actually, like I talked about on the roof, adding some grays or blues to make it look like an icy white or a regular white, that kind of a thing. This is YR 27 and 24 and Y19 for the honey, the cute, cute honey jar. Here's the chairs. We're going to get those colored. There is a little sucker that I color green as well. You've got the chocolate bar. I just love all of these treats. I think they're all so darn cute. That little ice cream, I want it to look like mint chocolate ice cream because that is one of my favorites. So that needed to be yummy. When I'm done coloring all of these, I will use the coordinating die and cut them out. I think, yeah, everything is done. I just was like, I've done a lot of coloring. I'm not going to show anymore. I did use the RV 55, 63, and 66 for this pink sign right here. And I'm using white embossing powder and stamped that with a sentiment that says sweet treats. And again, I love the pink against the blue and the white. I think it is just gorgeous. Now it's time to glue everything together. I'm putting on these. I did color those little, the little banners, and I used the same pink and teal colors for that. I actually also meant to use a yellow, but I got happy with the green and it just didn't happen. So gluing everything together, gluing the handles on, I will use a black glaze pen to color those little white handles black. I could have cut them out of black cardstock, and I just didn't even think about it. You guys, I think right now I'm just so thankful for all these crafters, all these videos that we can sit and watch, being that we're all kind of quarantined at home right now. And I think crafters are going to shine right now. I think we're going to be the ones entertaining everybody, and I think that is fantastic. Definitely getting in and being able to be creative, I think, will help us from feeling so sad or stressed or anxious about what's going on in the world right now. And so, you know, I'm just thankful for this community, and I'm glad I get to be a part of it. So now I took the fence from the House Builder card base and put a little white picket fence in. That window piece I adhered inside. And I did this coloring off camera, but it was the same as the roof. But I had to use 2 of these smaller pieces and hook them together because it just wasn't quite long enough before. Because I think I used a bigger rectangle for the window because I really wanted a big window on here. Trimmed off that excess. Now we're going to glue on the dormers. I also colored the roof line for those, and I just glued them on a diagonal on top of each other. And so super simple. You still can see the black frame at the bottom, and I'm going to pop these up on foam tape because dormers usually kind of stick out like that. So that's what I want. And I just love that there's these food images up there for people to see. I just didn't have enough windows on my house builder, if that's all it boils down to show off all the goodies in my treat shop. So this behind the sign, the Sweet Treats sign, some foam tape behind that as well, because we want that to have dimension. And this little house is starting to come together. Foam tape behind my most favorite thing on this whole card is this silly little chalkboard sign. And then we are going to put the balloons on that to get people's attention. And so there'll be some foam tape behind that as well. A little bit of liquid glue on the bottom part to hook it to the chalkboard sign, the table and the chairs. And what I did for the table and the chairs is I put foam tape behind the table, so it looks like that's in the front, and then you can actually end up tucking your chairs underneath, if that makes sense. So it really looks like that rather than them just sitting out and floating in space. They kind of were tucked under there, so I loved how that turned out. So foam tape behind that, none behind the chairs. We're going to glue that to this side of the card, to the right side of the card. I was going to put a plant behind that fence there, but I felt like you weren't going to see it good enough, and it was just going to clutter up the image, so that's why I did not end up using both potted plants. I only ended up using one. See, I'm still trying to fit that somewhere. It just is not going to work. Coloring those little doorknobs with my black glaze pen. Again, you could have cut these out of colored cardstock, but I did not do that. The We Are Open sign that I colored in the same pink markers that I used earlier, and hanging that on the door. And on this little chocolate bar, I just trimmed off a lot of that white edge. I still left a little white edge, but I trimmed that off, and I'm going to glue that to the table along with the sucker. So it looks like someone's having some yummy sweet treats sitting there. Using some liquid glue for that. And now I brought in the glossy accents, and I am putting that on the jars at the top. You could do the whole window if you wanted. I did not want to do that, but you could. And I did it on the cloche down here at the bottom. And I am going to do it inside those oval holes on the door, so it looks like you're looking through glass. I also did it on top of that cute little sucker. So you've got all the shiny glass going on. I did it on the heart on top of the wedding cake to make that kind of feel like a ceramic look. And I'm just cleaning up any edges that I need to with my tool-in-one from Spellbinders. Adding to the balloons, because those need to look glossy and beautiful and shiny like a balloon. And adding to that cloche, and look at how fun this card is, you guys. It is so cute to me. I had such a blast. I cannot wait to make more of these, which I'm going to be doing here really shortly, because I think the possibilities are endless. I mean, you have this whole little scene here. I just can't even say enough about the Honeybee Stamps House Builder card base and the Treat Shop add-on, and there's other add-ons too, and I can't even say enough about it. Thank you guys so very much for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this project. I hope you feel inspired. If you like what you've seen, please subscribe to my channel. Thumbs up, comment, share, all of that is really helpful to me, and I appreciate it. I do have some affiliate links below. It costs you nothing, but it does continue to help me make these videos. So thank you for using them. Thank you for your support, and everyone stay safe. We're alone together in this, and you guys have a wonderful day.